have you with us. I'm always happy to have Maria Eleonora Maddalena with us. She had an amazing talk yesterday. She is, you know what, you're doing a different topic today, and I'm going to let you say what the topic is because I still have yesterday's topic on my brain. Maria Eleonora Maddalena is the founder of the Awakening Path and co-owner of Mind Sherpa Publishing House. She is a spiritual guide devoted to supporting profound awakening, energetic alignment, and conscious evolution. Through her work, Eleonora helps individuals activate dormant gifts, reconnect with their highest timeline, and step fully into their soul's purpose. Integrating spiritual guidance, multidimensional channeling, Reiki, and quantum healing, she creates powerful transformational experiences that support deep healing and activation. Her work has helped many star seeds and awakened souls remember who they truly are and confidently embrace their life mission, bringing their unique light and gifts to the world. She offers healing of body, mind, and soul, conscious activation, and elevated frequency, supporting profound transformation and embodied awakening in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Today, Eleonora, yesterday we had this amazing talk on ETs and that realm who helps us so much. And today, what are we talking about today?
Well, it's still about starseed, but today you're going to try to answer the 4 fundamental questions. What is God, that I did the last talk in Pasadena?
Yes.
And today we're going to talk about who am I? Who are you? And what we are doing here and where we came from. I will just do a little summary of those 3 other topics because we're going to focus on who am I? Who are you? And in the end, I will bring a friend of mine. He is the author of this amazing book, The Intuition Bible, that will give you a step-by-step on how to connect to recognize, because everybody has always been connected to the intuition, but it's just not paying attention. So this book will teach you how to pay attention, how to recognize when you are receiving a high guidance or it's just a programming based on fear.
Amazing. Well, you are all very lucky. I have to go back out there into the trenches, but without further ado, let's welcome Maria Eleonora Maddalena.
Thank you for being here. And I will just do a little summary of what I spoke last talk. That was, what is God? The summary of God that I put it together, of course, that's not the ultimate truth. It's just the way I perceive after so many books reading, downloads, and videos over 20 years. Is first that was only God. Let's just picture was like in the 15th dimension. We are in the 3rd one, the 15th. And then everything was perfect. God got bored, because nothing else was happening. It's happening all the time. So he decided to look it down and project itself. I still continue on the 15th, on the 4th dimension, as 3, Father, Mother, Son. And then the 13th dimension will be the 7 major universe, and one consciousness of those universe is Archangel Metatron. And then it came down to the 12th dimension, that's the dimension of the archangels. So there is the 12 creations. The first one was given to Jesus. That is also the first Son. Remember those 3 on the 14th dimension? The Son was Jesus already. And then just come down in dimension 11, 12, and then one time Archangel Michael decided to project himself in the 5th, 6th, 7th dimension as Adam Cadman. That was the first humanoid. He brought the first humanoid race to the Milky Way galaxy, and that's the original Adam. And now all the way down to the 3rd dimension. So that's the summary of God. What is God? God is consciousness. God is love that creates all the time, and everything there is an expression of God, of God's consciousness, including you, me, and everything has consciousness. Even those chairs have consciousness, and there is different levels of consciousness. Of course, we are sentient beings. By sentient beings means that we have free will. We have choice. And then you have the animal kingdom that has instincts. It's not exactly choice, bordering choice. Sometimes I think my dog doesn't act just by instinct. I think he make choices. I think the animals are evolving, and then we have the vegetables. There is more like collective consciousness. They perceive everything. They can perceive themselves as individual, but they don't really express choice. So who am I? I think the best definition of who am I that I heard was from Jesus himself, where he says that we are a beautiful thought in the mind of God. I think that expresses everything. And we came down in dimensions. If we go back in any one of us, doesn't need to be a seed, can be a young soul. If you start going back in dimension all the way to the 15th dimension, you are God. Anyone. So we are God. And when you do the descension, that the evolution all the way until the 5th dimension, you don't forget who you are. You still know that you are one with God and one with everything there is. And that's beautiful. It gets complicated when you get to the 3rd dimension, that you forget that you are one with God. You perceive yourself in a physical body, in this vessel, where you think that you are isolated from everything else and you are alone. But you are never alone. So the topic today is, who am I? I will just go down a little bit and explain where we came from, and because it's kind of hard to separate one topic from the other, and also explain why we are here. So, where we came from. If we look back all the way, if you say, I came from source, from God, that's the most accurate answer. But some of us, we had some detours. Not all of us, this soul, when in order to be in a physical body, a soul is created, and that soul is kind of a focus point of consciousness to live that physical experience. And for each one of us, this soul may came to different levels, different dimensions. For example, many of us, not only the newbies, because some of the old souls, they came here and they kind of got trapped on the wheel of karma. So they're just recycling, but they'll say, oh, where my soul came from? Well, my soul came from the 4th dimension because I die with karma and then I had to come back. That's the short story of that soul evolution. But many of us that came here as volunteer, we don't have any karmic ties with Earth at this moment. We decided we came from different places. There are souls that came straight from source, that never had a physical experience in the body. And the fun thing is, in order for them to do that, they do some training, they study human behavior, and some even do what they call imprint. They study everything about one soul specifically, and they imprint all that consciousness. So, for example, when many people have past life regression, some of those imprints can come up, even though they are in the first incarnation on Earth. So many of us, we came from other civilizations, ET civilizations. And then you say, oh, all the ET civilizations are in different dimensions. Well, the ones that interact with us, yes. Because the ones that are in the third dimension, it's not a given to them the ability to come here to Earth, because they would need to have high technology and also consciousness. The trick is, there are some beings they are in the fourth dimension. There is a little portion that's already in the fifth dimension, but they still working to self. But the portion is really small, because when you remember that you are one with God, one with everything, you're not gonna do anything bad to no one, because it's like you're doing to yourself, right? So they just don't do. But there are ETs, there are beings that are in the fourth dimension, and they have access to high technology. And they are the ones creating most of the problem that created the fall of Atlantis, was responsible for that. They were the ones that implemented the third degree matrix. Yesterday I told that Earth was not created as a three-dimensional planet. It was originally live in the fifth, sixth, and seventh dimension. So who am I? We are a beautiful thought in the mind of God. Where we came from, ultimately we came from Source. Where this soul, as Eleonora is speaking to you, came from, I've been told they came from the future. But I already came to Earth many times. And it's not my first incarnation on Earth. Somebody told me a number, it's like 11 incarnations on Earth. This is the 11th. And what is the Starseed program is? You can be an old soul but if you come here inheriting only the DNA of your parents, so your body will be limited to that, to the amount of light that physical vessel is able to process. So the Starseed, there was many programs for different missions, and those beings, they were enhanced, their DNA was enhanced. So in my case, I'm part of a group of 52 that has over 300 races together, including the angelics. And why is that? So I would need that ability to be able to communicate with any being in any dimension. And that doesn't make me more special, it just gives me more responsibility. And each one of us, even the noble souls, everyone in the whole universe, the human being has the DNA that's like a gold. It's a commodity to other civilizations, because we pursue the God gene. We are the only race in the whole multiverse that has the ability to, in the body, ascend all the way to Source, to connect to Source. And how we do that? We do through our intuition, we do through our emotions. When people think about spirituality, they just think about meditating, eating healthy, go to astral travel. All this is part of it. But that's not what we're really here for. Because the Lemurians was already doing that. They were fully connected to source, the astral travel. They had no need to technology because with their mind they could manipulate all the energy of everything around Earth and create everything that they needed. But the problem was they were elevating the vibration of the planet to go to the fifth dimension, to the eighth, ninth, and 10th dimension before embody the 1, 2, and 3. And my friend Happy Ali, he just arrived, and I will call him in to speak to you guys in about, let me see, in about 20 minutes or so. So you all came here with that ability to connect to source. And why someone decided that would happen. I'm already going to why we are here. Why the Earth experiment was created. Remember the 12 creations? Who have ever heard of Lucifer? And you guys know that Lucifer is an archangel. That's the fellow angels. He was the fellow archangel that convinced 1/3 of the angels. And then you may think, okay, God projects himself on the 12th dimension as 12 major universe. But when he did 12 creations, and each consciousness was one archangel. But when he did that, he didn't just create one archangel, he created the archangel with their counterparts, their twin flame. And guess what? Sex starts in the 12th dimension. They had babies, and those were the angels. So Lucifer was able to convince the 1/3 of the angels to rebel. And why? And his name was Sananda, by the way, on that moment. And why he did that? Because when God decided to look down to the 14th dimension for the first time, in other scriptures you may hear, for me makes sense, the 12th, 15th dimension, but is the 15th the last one? I doubt it is. I think it's infinite, but let's try to focus on something that our mind can grasp. So when God decided to look down and project itself as three, the Trinity, the Holy Trinity, let's say a chunk of God was released from the whole and went far, far away, and we call that the arcane energy, disconnected from source, disconnected from love. And because he is disconnected from love and from source, he has no ability to create. And he doesn't have the ability either to connect with any organic matter. So he convinced each one of the 12 creations. I think I will talk more about the 12 creations later. The 11th creation that was given to Samana, actually it was the technology and mechanics and technology. So the arcane energy convinced Lucifer to create artificial intelligence. You see, we just recently learned about artificial intelligence. But artificial intelligence exists from billions and billions of years ago and was created by Lucifer, Samana at the time. And the reason why the arcane energy convinced Samana to create, because it was mechanic, he would be able to embody and manipulate. But he didn't stop there. He wanted to conquer everything. He wanted to replace God. So he convinced Samana that actually that dimension that he was looking at, the 12th dimension, that was all there is. There was no seven major universe, there was no Trinity, and there was no God. And all that was all invention of Archangel Michael, because Archangel Michael wanted to be the worshipped by God as a God. So and then you see Archangel Michael is just the same level as you. So why don't you be the God? So that's how there was the first war, where Samana was able to convince 1/3 of the archangels, the angels, and there was the first war, and Archangel Michael gathered the arm, and he won that war, and those fallen angels, we call fallen because they had to fall, and guess where they fall? They fall right here on the Milky Way galaxy. And after that, Archangel Michael, that he used to own only the white ray, it also given to him the blue ray. That's why he is the archangel that has two rays. So I know I spoke a lot and I spoke fast, and it's really hard to separate the answers of who am I, what is God, what I'm doing here, and where I came from. Are you open for questions at this moment? And then I'll give the word to Happy. Does anyone have any question?
I have blood process.
You may ask what I have to do with all of that. Why I even need to know this? So how about if I just channel anyone, see who will come to give us more clarity about that Earth experiment? I think that's a good place to start. And I'm just looking at the time. I think it will be good to do that. Let's see. I will just get close to the table so I make sure I don't fall. It's not a trance channel. Nothing will take over my body. It's not that. It's telepathic communication that comes to the heart center. I only close my eyes so I don't get distracted, and it's like my consciousness is in the back of the room, listen to anything, but just observing without any judgment. I put the intention to connect to any being of love and light that will tell us a little bit more about the Earth experiment. And we have our friend Happy Ali here with us, so we have about 10 minutes for that. Who is here? Dear beings of light, I am what you know as Source, all it is, God, whatever name you give. But you are also me. I am. When you say I am, you are just recognize the God on you. You recognize that you are part of God, part of Source, part of all it is. And each one of you is so special, unique, and irreplaceable. Without you, I would be incomplete. That's how special you are. I just would like to call attention for one big misperception. The misperception that you can do wrong, that you can do a mistake, that you can be a sinner, a broken. You are perfect because you are me. I am you. You are here to experience and learn. And you have been given free will. But to know that here is just a playground. All of this is an illusion. The reality that it is not here. It's in the higher dimension. Starting on the 12th dimension, things can change. So it's not the true reality. Anything that can change, transmute, is not a reality. The reality and the eternity of who you are is unchangeable. And you can experience that unchangeability through meditation. When you bring your mind to the present moment for as long as you can, you're going to reach a point where all the noise will shut down around you. And then you'll be reunited with who it is. You're going to remember, you're going to experience. That's what the Indians call the nirvana. That moment where you know you are one with everything. So the son that God created perfect, the daughter that God created perfect, cannot be corrupted. You came here to experience, and all the choices that you make is of God, because you are God. Even the ones that create suffering. You live in duality. If there was no dark, you would not understand the light. If you didn't experience pain, you would not recognize the value of joy. That's just the design of this place. But there is a way to have a happy dream here. The biggest problem, what caused the most suffering, is the misperception that you are separated, that you are alone. And even worse, that there is a God out there looking down here and pointing the fingers. And you are doing that, but you're going to get it. Of course, this word is a reflective word. When you make a choice that is based on fear, you're going to experience the reflection of those decisions. On the same way that when you make choices that are based on love, you will also experience that. But everything is allowed. Why? Because at this point, but even in the beginning, everything always been allowed. But at this point, when you make those bad decisions, because everything is accelerated at this point, you are able to receive the repercussion of those decisions and see very clear, oh, I did that and that was the consequence, and I think I don't like that. So next time I'm going to choose something different. Why God allowed the first suffering to take place? Why God allowed we to descend from the 5th dimension to the 3rd dimension? As this dear one said, the idea, the main purpose is to spiritualize matter. So you had to come down all the way to the first second and third dimension to process, embrace, embody, and then rise up. And when you rise up, when you already embody all your lower chakras, you can rise up, you have the ability to rise up all the way to source. And that is the Earth's experiment. I know there is a lot to speak on this matter, but we're going to stop here to give a chance to our beautiful child to speak. Thank you. I will not explain. So now I will introduce you Happy Ali. He
Hello.
is one of my favorite person on earth. And
That's a big one on a whole. Hi, everybody. Give me a hand. No, I'm just kidding. I'm only teasing you guys. So I'm Lucifer. No, I'm only teasing. So I don't know what I'm gonna say and how much it's gonna contradict or align with what she's been saying, because I kind of say whatever I say, and it is. But first, you gotta know who I am before. How many minutes do I have?
we have
Huh?
27 minutes.
Okay, so I'm just gonna ramble for a minute or two. Just you gotta know who I am, because you don't want to talk to listen
Actually,
to.
17 minutes.
17 minutes is good, but I won't talk that much. But first I want you to know who I am, because you don't want to just listen to anybody not knowing their backstory or where they come from. First of all, I am a prophetic dreamer, so I dream things in advance, and I had to learn that the hard way. But my journey began in '95 when I was 17, and I had a near-death experience. And I was downloaded about, I don't know, lifetime's worth of information at 17 and 95. So back then, we didn't know what the heck was going on, and so I didn't know what the heck I was supposed to do with it. I just know I was supposed to change the world, and I realized that the world didn't want changing. So I wrote it all down, and people told me I was crazy. And I wrote down the philosophies, lived by it, learned the secret to happiness. That's why my name is Happy Ali. She's holding it.
Yeah.
And then later, after studying so many different modalities and spiritual things, I encountered Esther Hicks and the law of attraction and the teachings of that were being channeled, and I believed it, were matching exactly what I had downloaded. So then I thought, okay, well, maybe I wasn't crazy after all. And by the way, my life had been going so well. So then I started having dreams, prophesizing events, deaths, birthdays, births, anything important that would happen in my life or the people near me. And unfortunately, fortunately, I dreamt the birth of my son. Unfortunately, I dreamt the death of my son 2 months in advance when he was 4. And then my son showed up in my dreams and guided me to have my twins that I have now, that I had on my own, and I met them both at their adult selves. But I was a makeup artist. I was making lots of money. I was doing really well. But one day someone's like, do you want to teach a makeup course? And I said, no. And they said, what do you want to teach? And it was in Iran. And I said, I'm going to teach, whatever I know that was spiritual, that I learned, that I got downloaded. And law of attraction, everything included. So I went and I spoke for 4 hours in a language I'm not comfortable in. And then it was just such a coming to life moment where your soul is like, this is what you're meant to do. So then I came home after two seminars and quit my job and enrolled in psychology, because I thought I know metaphysics very well and I live it. Might as well learn psychology so you can merge the two, because I believe that you need to be a balanced human being, because this world, as she said, is duality. So there's spirituality on one end, science on one end, and people think that it's one or the other, but truly, if you want to be a balanced individual, you got to meet in the middle. This is what the universe created this planet for. This is one of the only one of many planets that's duality, dark and light. We don't have two suns, we have one sun. So we get dark and light. So everything is created through the friction of dark and light. So for us, right now, a lot of people are complaining about the state of the world and saying how dark it is, but that is what allows us to rise above the darkness and create our own light. But you can't live in the light and you can't live in the dark. This is the mastery of this planet, is to find the balance between the two. And I wrote my first book when I was 28, didn't publish it till I was 40 something. Then later I was writing a book called The Heartlands, about seeing life through the heart. I'm sure you all have heard of that. You gotta see everything through the heart. And have mind-heart coherence, because that's where your power is. And then I was writing it, and I was almost done, and something started nagging, saying, this is not what you're supposed to write. Now, mind you, writing a book is not an easy task. It is hard. And I went, I always talk to my angels and guardians, and whoever it is that's out there. I believe we have an army of helpers in the non-physical realm. Some people will quantify it and call it names. I just believe there's like an infinite amount of levels of intelligence that are helping us come through us. So I prayed to them and said, hey, give me something the world needs right now, because between social media, the news, and everything what's going on, I need to know what the world needs to know. But I was already done with my book, so almost done. So I was like, okay, just tell me what I need to be. So I went to sleep and I woke up, and this book was downloaded to me in one night. And I said, you're gonna bring me this book, you're gonna have to find your own publisher, your own everything. I'm not doing shit. All I'm gonna do is give it time, put my hand on the keyboard, showing my age, and you're gonna type it out, and you're gonna find everything. And I never had an official publisher. I self-published my first one. The book came out, it printed itself out. It's probably 75% channeled and 25% me. And the first publisher was the publisher of The Power of Now, or 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. They saw it, they loved it, they picked it up within a week, and then before I knew it, I had a publisher, a PR person, all this stuff. So I truly believe that this book is called The Intuition Bible, How and Why to Tap into Your Inner Wisdom. And it's all about tuning out the external voice, sounds, and going within and tapping into the different parts of you that want to speak and tell you what's right for you. Because she's talking, I'm talking, there's 20 other people, or I don't know how many other people are out there, they're talking, and we're all giving different messages, right? Everyone. And then turn on Fox News, turn on CNN, turn on other stuff, turn on social media, whatever it is, whatever your algorithm is, it's talking to you. But what is the right information? Who am I to say my information is right for you? So the way it was explained to me that the book was written, which is not the end of my story quite just yet, was that there's too much noise out there, and we need to learn how to understand the way that our inner voice communicates. First through our subconscious, then the subconscious is a bridge to the soul, the higher souls, the archangels, angels, whatever it is you want to call it. I don't like to label things, because those are human ways of labeling. Humans label, they like names, we like point of references. But I don't care who's coming through. All I have to do is a little prayer, say, as long as your intentions are for me and the betterment of me and the world, and you don't have anything malice to express, I'm open. And so in this book, it came all these techniques. First, you have to break down the belief that you can tap into your inner wisdom, that anyone can do it. Then it came all these exercises that I didn't even know about, and I had to practice them, because I was like, oh God, am I just writing bullshit? I didn't know. I had to, my best friends are all so spiritual. I was like, okay, you practice this, let's see what happens. And it turned out to be a good book. So then, I'll do one of the exercises with you guys, just to teach you to learn what's right for you and what's not right for you. To listen to me, or listen to her, or listen to who to listen to. If to turn off the news, or to turn on the news, or to read that article, not read that article. To believe in yourself about this idea that you have or not to have. So that's part one. How many minutes do I have?
I still have 9.
9, okay. So that aside, so I did that. I went on tour, we did great. It was #1 on 4 charts on Amazon, and did really great. I was very happy with it. Then I get bored. Then I was like, one day I said, I need more. I need to be excited by my own work, because the word intuition sounds so vague. You all have a different interpretation of what intuition means. I said, give me something more tangible. This is for people who love to learn. This is a one-stop shop for how to tap into your inner wisdom for it doesn't matter what type of personality you have and where you are on your journey. It'll just take you a little bit further, and some exercises will be amazing for you, but as long as you master 1 or 2 exercises, you are a master. It goes from everything from resonance, gut feelings, all the way to channeling and downloading, which I'm an accidental channel? No. Spontaneous channel. So I will channel, but never like she just went into that thing, and no, I can't do that. I can, this is my goal for this year, but I'm never regimented enough to be able to have done it. I just do it on accident, and then I'll just be like, well, the other day I just started yapping away and all this shit just came out of my mouth. And I was just like, what? And then luckily I had it recorded, otherwise I would have forgotten it. And then I started teaching my clients, and they're like, this is the best. And I thought, oh shoot, I'm glad I wrote it down or recorded it, otherwise I would not remember it. Okay, so then I decided to give a lecture and fill 100 people in a room, and she was there. And I had to rent an auditorium and get a camera crew and all this stuff. But I didn't know what the heck I was gonna talk about, because I already talked about this. So then I, of course, did the whole meditation, and I said, why is it that certain people can learn this stuff, have dreams, and they succeed, and why don't some people succeed? Other than your belief system, because belief system we all know matters a lot. Then I woke up with a whole new set of information, and this is what I'm going to talk about. This is my upcoming book, and it relates to this completely, because all my books and work is about going within. So this is what I call the concept of soul tapping. It's learning the difference of the 3 sources of the voices that are inside your head. All of you have an inner dialogue running through your head, true? Right now, as I'm talking, as she's talking, as you're staring at the wall, as whatever you're doing, there's an inner dialogue going on. Inner dialogue about your life, about your abilities, about your future, about the guy that you meet, the woman that you meet, the job that you want, the future that you think you're gonna have. There's an inner dialogue that goes on. But everybody thinks that those are coming from their own mind, from the same source, but they're not. There's 3 I broke it down to 3, because if you don't break it down, people get confused. There's 3 sources of voices. And one is from your soul, the higher self, the one that created you, and the one that's streaming through you, the one that has no limits, no limitations on who you can be, sees your potential. It knows that you're infinite. It knows that you can do anything. It has no fear. It's pure love, unconditional love. One is your physical body, which has your mind, your belief system, your trauma and your drama, and it can only see as far as it has been able to see and experience and see other people experience. So what it can predict based on your future is limited. Love is conditional. Everything that the soul has, the qualities that the soul has, it is the opposite of. Because the soul wanted to come into this body and have an experience of learning, of finding who it is again. It's almost like descending to this dark place and finding your way out of it, just to remember why you are who you are. And also relearning unconditional love. And relearn, so there's 2 things that the soul wants: expansion, growth, basically, and to remember who it is, and also to relearn unconditional love. And how do you relearn unconditional love? And that is putting yourself in a conditional place. Like, if you're nice to me, if you're smiling at me, I'm gonna look at you. If you're not looking at me, I'm not gonna look at you. You know, if you love me enough, or you're nice to me enough, I'm gonna be nice to you. So we have a conditional way of living. So the world is very finite in our mind. So that's the other voice. And then the third voice is your instincts. It's the wiring that you came in with in this world. It's this fight and flight and freeze mode that allows you to survive. That comes in your genetics. That comes generationally. So why is this important? So I take these 3 things and I treat them. So I call this one with the soul tapping. I call with this one with the mind cold tapping, like cold that Santa brings you when you're bad. Cold because I believe trauma is like coal. outdated belief systems are coal, and it also rhymed with soul. So I was like, you're soul tapping, coal tapping, or that your instincts is like your mother keeping you safe. So when I talk about life, like, let's say, because life is really geometrical and mathematics, basically. So I say, let's say life is learning algebra. The soul is the professor teaching you algebra, right? The coal is a fifth grader teaching you algebra, or a 5-year-old, whichever you want. Fifth grader sounds good, because they know a little bit. And the other one's your mother teaching you algebra. We don't know if she went to school or not, so, or if she's even good at math. But she's gonna keep you safe. So if you're trying to learn algebra, and the professor speaks, are you gonna prioritize the voice of the professor, or are you gonna prioritize the voice of the fifth grader? So the reason for learning the difference between these voices is to know which one to prioritize and when. And the greatest thing is that the easiest way to understand it is, one, when the soul speaks, you feel calm, expanded, and chill, and hopeful. You feel good. When the coal speaks, you contract. Like if I say, you're not going to be able to do this, you're too old to accomplish whatever it is you're going to accomplish, you're going to contract. You're like, oh shit, I messed up my youth and ended up doing all this stuff I wasn't supposed to do, and now I don't have time. But when the soul says you always have time, the potential is unlimited. This is not your only life. You're going to pick up where you left off after you die. There is no limitation. How does that make you feel? Expanded or contracted? Expanded. So that's the soul. That's how you know the soul's talking. That's how you know the coal's talking. And when the mother talks, you want to run, punch, or freeze. So if you want to punch someone, freeze. Procrastination is, by the way, freezing. Or you want to hit someone, that's just your mother talking. So then when like I went through a really difficult time, I'm Iranian, and we have a war going on right now, my family's there, and there were times where I would freak out. And it was debilitating. Are we done? 1 minute? Okay, so it was debilitating, and I would say, you know what, I'm cold tapping right now. So tell the fifth grader, thank you for your information, thanks for your knowledge, I'm gonna soul tap. And I would say, you know what, there's a greater intelligence organizing all these events, so let's trust it. So anyway, so that's my whole new concept. But soul tapping in general is this, the intuition Bible. These are the different ways you can soul tap and really learn to tap into your inner wisdom. And then I would teach you a really fast 30-second exercise, but I don't think I have time.
30
So,
seconds?
yes.
Go.
Okay. Can I do 30 seconds? You guys willing?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so here's one of my favorite exercises, okay? This is how you learn the difference between a yes or a no. I'm gonna say this something, close your eyes really quick. I'm gonna say something that's a yes, okay? What city are we in? La Mirada, okay? I'm gonna say, we're La Mirada. I want you to scan your upper body from your shoulder to your pelvis, something that we know is a yes, and see how you feel. We're in La Mirada, we're sitting inside a conference room. Take a deep breath. What do you feel? Just feel your body. Now I'm gonna say it's nighttime and we're in New York. How does that feel? I'm gonna say we're in a bright room. How does that feel? Does it go back to the yes again? Now I'm gonna say there's a woman talking right now, and I'm a big woman. And you're gonna see the no. Now every one of you can open your eyes, had a different place of your body that lit up. I'm not gonna compare notes. But that's a way that if you practice that enough, that's part of the exercise in my book. If you practice that long enough, you recognize what's a yes and what's a no. So whenever you're about to make a decision, say, is this a decision that's good for me? And it will say yes or no. Is this something that I should listen to? Yes or no. So that's the most basic thing and the most important thing in any of my teachings. So thank you for listening. Thank you, Eleonora, for having me as a guest. And I'll be out there.
His book is available. If you want to sign
Thank
the
you.
copy, it will be there with us.
I'll be
And
there
if
for
you want
30
a channel session with me, is also on the book. Thank you so much for the extra 30 seconds.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.